As a former Andrew Yang staffer, and your platform having quite a bit of overlap in terms of policies with his, you mentioned earlier that he was a top 6 presidential candidate. Now, we talked earlier this week on the show about the fact that CNN actually manipulated a graphic to leave him out and put Beto in, even though he was polling higher than Beto in that particular race. And I know that a lot of supporters of Andrew Yang feel like there's an effort by the media to minimize his candidacy. As a former insider, what do you feel about this issue?
Well, I have to say thank you to you for calling a spade, and being one of the forefront leaders and just calling out what was happening. But I mean, the reality was that the campaign was built from the ground up in long form interviews and podcasts and conversations. And it's just grown organically from there. So I can't say anything particularly surprising.
Now we have multiple candidates in this race that I personally support a number of the ideas, some really innovative ones. Andrew Yang has a lot of really interesting ideas. As the primary continues, there's a little bit more tension. I know that both you and Andrew Yang support the freedom dividend. Bernie Sanders critiqued it earlier this week. What did you make of his critique?
Yeah, I think it's a really important conversation to be had. In theory, the federal jobs guarantee and the freedom dividend are not mutually exclusive. We most definitely need to invest in new jobs, especially in energy and infrastructure. But I think one of the key differences is with the freedom dividend, you're putting resources and capital directly into people's hands, which itself would create thousands of new jobs in New York and hundreds of thousands around the country. And importantly, recognize a lot of the work that our market currently values at zero, like motherhood and caring for an ailing parent, and all the nurturing and caregiving jobs that are going to become increasingly important in our economy.
Yeah. I did want to ask you one more question. You're taking on Representative Nadler. He's a powerful Democrat. Have any of the Democratic Party organizations reached out to you about your candidacy yet?
That's interesting. No.
I would be on the watch. I think those calls might be coming. We'll see. In the past, they've been somewhat aggressive against people that primary their strongly favored incumbents. So we'll have to see for you what sort of pushback you might reach. But Jonathan Herzog, thank you for joining us today, candidate in the primary for New York's 10th district. We appreciate you joining us.
Thanks for having me.
Check out the Damage Report podcast each day, wherever you get your podcasts, whether Pocket Casts or Stitcher or iTunes. You can join me as I give you the news and stories you want, with a range of co-hosts and interview guests jumping in on the fun each day. Again, that's the Damage Report, wherever you get your podcasts. And if you get them at iTunes, don't forget to rate and review. Sometimes I'll read them live on the show.